It was a Wednesday morning in late September, and I woke up feeling absolutely miserable. My throat was on fire, my head was pounding, and every muscle in my body ached. I'm a high school English teacher, and I rarely call in sick, but that morning I knew I had no choice. I texted my principal at 6 a.m., explaining I had what felt like the flu coming on. She told me to rest and take care of myself. My husband Graham had already left for work. He's always been an early bird, usually out the door by 6:30 to beat the morning traffic to his accounting firm. We'd been married 15 years, and I knew his routine by heart. I dragged myself downstairs, made some tea with honey, and settled on the couch with a blanket. The house felt so quiet without the usual morning chaos of getting ready for work. Around 9 a.m., I started feeling a little better. The tea and some ibuprofen had taken the edge off. I was lying there, mindlessly scrolling through my phone, when I remembered something important. Our 15th anniversary was coming up that Saturday. Graham had mentioned wanting to do something special, maybe dinner at that new French restaurant downtown that had just gotten amazing reviews. But here's the thing, I'm not great at waiting for surprises. I like to plan, to be involved, to make things perfect. And suddenly, lying there on the couch, feeling sorry for myself, I had an idea. What if I surprised him instead? Not this Saturday, but today. Right now. Graham had been working so hard lately, staying late at the office, bringing work home on weekends. I knew he was stressed about the merger his firm was going through. Maybe what he needed was something unexpected and wonderful in the middle of a regular Wednesday. I could make his favorite meal, lasagna from his grandmother's recipe, light some candles, and when he came home, we'd have our own private anniversary celebration a few days early. The more I thought about it, the more excited I became. I felt well enough to cook, I reasoned. It was just a sore throat and some body aches, nothing that would stop me from putting together a nice dinner. I checked the fridge and realized I had everything I needed except fresh basil and good Parmesan. I threw on some clothes, grabbed my purse, and headed to the grocery store. The whole trip took maybe 40 minutes. When I got back home around 10:30, I parked my car in the garage like always and came in through the kitchen door. That's when I heard it. A voice. A woman's voice. Coming from upstairs. My first thought was that I'd forgotten Graham had mentioned someone coming over. A cleaning service? But we didn't have anyone scheduled. Maybe a delivery person? But why would they be upstairs? I stood perfectly still in the kitchen, grocery bags still in my hands, and listened. The voice was clearer now. It was coming from Graham's home office, the room he'd converted from our spare bedroom during the pandemic. The door must have been open, because I could hear every word. I know, baby. I know it's hard to wait. It was a woman's voice, soft and intimate in a way that made my stomach drop. But we've waited this long. What's a few more weeks? I recognized that voice. It was Felicity Chen, Graham's coworker. I'd met her at the firm's holiday party last year. She was maybe 35, sharp and ambitious, always dressed like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Graham had mentioned working with her on the merger project. I set the grocery bags down slowly, carefully, so they wouldn't make noise. My heart was hammering in my chest. Maybe I was misunderstanding. Maybe this was just a work call and I was being paranoid. Then I heard my husband's voice. I can't stop thinking about when this is all over, when we can finally be together without hiding. Graham's voice was warm, tender in a way he hadn't spoken to me in months. When she's gone, everything changes. The business, the house, everything becomes ours. When she's gone, the room started spinning. I grabbed onto the kitchen counter to steady myself. Felicity laughed, a soft, conspiratorial sound. You're sure about the plan? No room for mistakes? I've been over it 100 times, Graham said. Her heart condition makes it perfect. Everyone knows she has issues with her medication. If she takes the wrong combination, it'll look completely natural. No one will question it. I have a heart condition. Atrial fibrillation. I take medication for it every morning, have for 5 years. It's controlled, manageable. But I remember my cardiologist warning me about drug interactions, about being careful with other medications. And you're certain the insurance company won't investigate? Felicity asked. Why would they? She's been on those meds for years. Sudden cardiac event in a woman her age with a documented heart condition? It's textbook. and the policy pays out double for accidental death. $2 million. $2 million. I'd forgotten about that policy. Graham had increased it last year, said it was smart financial planning since I was the primary breadwinner with my teacher's pension. I'd signed the papers without thinking much about it. What about timing? Felicity's voice again. When were you thinking? This weekend. We're supposed to go to the lake house for our anniversary. It's the perfect setup. Remote location. Just the two of us. I'll switch her evening pills. Maybe increase the dosage. She'll take them like always. Go to sleep. And by morning. He trailed off. I'll call 911, play the devastated husband. They'll find her in bed. Heart attack in her sleep. Clean, simple, tragic. I couldn't breathe. The man I'd loved for 15 years, the man I'd built a life with, was planning to murder me. This Saturday, 3 days from now. What about afterward? Felicity asked. How long do we wait? A year, Graham said firmly. We have to play it right. I'll be the grieving widower. You'll be the supportive friend who helps me through my loss. Eventually, naturally, we'll grow closer. By next fall, we can be together openly. No one will question it. A year is a long time, Felicity said, and I could hear the pout in her voice. It's worth it, Graham replied. $2 million in insurance, plus her pension and life insurance from the school district, another $500,000. And the house is in both our names, but with her gone, it's all mine. We sell it, take the equity, and start fresh somewhere warm. Maybe Florida, maybe California. We'll have enough money to live exactly how we want. What about the firm? Felicity asked. The merger? Once the money comes through, I'm buying Thompson out. With my share and the insurance money, I'll own 60% of the company. You'll stay on as my second in command. We'll run it together. They kept talking, but I couldn't hear anymore. I needed to move, to get away from this nightmare. I backed out of the kitchen slowly, grabbed my purse, and walked out the front door as quietly as I could. I sat in my car in the driveway for 10 minutes, shaking. I felt sick, but it had nothing to do with the flu. My husband wanted me dead. My husband and his mistress were planning my murder like it was a business transaction. I thought about driving straight to the police station. But what would I tell them? I overheard a conversation? That wasn't evidence. That was hearsay. I had no proof. Graham would deny everything, make me look paranoid and crazy. No, I needed to be smart about this. I needed evidence. I wiped my eyes, took a deep breath, and started the car. I drove to my best friend Linda's house, the one about 10 minutes away. Linda answered the door in her workout clothes, surprised to see me. Aren't you supposed to be dying of the flu? She asked. Can I come in? I said. I need your help with something. I told her everything. Linda sat there on her couch, her mouth hanging open, her eyes getting wider and wider. We're calling the police right now, she said when I finished. And tell them what? I asked. I have no proof. It's my word against his. They'll think I'm having a mental breakdown. Then what do you want to do? I need to record them, I said. I need actual evidence. Video, audio, something concrete. Linda thought for a moment. Graham doesn't know you came home, right? He thinks you're at school? Right. So you could go back, pretend you never heard anything, act normal, and record them when they talk again. It sounded so simple when she said it, but the thought of going back into that house, of facing my husband knowing what he was planning, made me want to throw up. I can't, I whispered. Yes, you can, Linda said firmly. She grabbed my hands. You're the strongest person I know. You can do this. But you need to be careful. You need to be smart. We came up with a plan. Linda would lend me her old laptop, the one she never used anymore. I'd set it up in Graham's office, hidden behind some books on the shelf, with the camera facing his desk. I'd leave it running, recording everything. What if he finds it? I asked. He won't, Linda said. Men never notice anything. Trust me. We spent the next hour setting everything up. Linda showed me how to activate the laptop's camera and microphone remotely, how to access the recordings from my phone. She installed some spy camera app she found online. It felt surreal, like we were in a movie. Are you sure you're okay doing this? Linda asked. You could just disappear, leave town, file for divorce. And let them get away with it? Something hard and cold had settled in my chest. No, I want them to pay for what they were planning to do. I drove back home around 2 p.m. Graham's car was gone from the driveway. He'd left, probably gone back to the office. Good. I let myself in and went straight upstairs to his office. The room looked normal. His desk was neat, papers stacked in organized piles. His laptop was closed. You'd never know that a few hours ago, he'd been in here planning my murder. I set up Linda's laptop on the bookshelf behind a row of thick tax law textbooks. You couldn't see it unless you were specifically looking for it. I tested the angle with my phone. Perfect. It had a clear view of his desk and the chair where he sat. I activated the recording, checked my phone to make sure I could access it remotely, and then went back downstairs. The grocery bags were still on the counter where I'd left them. The fresh basil had wilted. I put everything away mechanically, my hands moving on autopilot while my mind raced. I needed to act normal. I needed Graham to believe nothing had changed. I went back upstairs to our bedroom, changed into my pajamas, and got into bed. When Graham came home that evening around 6, I was there, tissues on the nightstand, looking appropriately sick. "Hey, honey," he said, poking his head into the bedroom. "How are you feeling?" I looked at my husband, the man I'd loved for 15 years, the man who'd held me when my father died, the man who'd promised to love me in sickness and in health, the man who was planning to murder me in 3 days. "Awful," I croaked. "I think it's the flu." Poor baby. He came over and felt my forehead. His hand was cool against my skin. "You're burning up. Have you taken anything?" "Some ibuprofen," I said. "Let me get you some soup," he offered. "You need to keep your strength up." He left the room, and I wanted to scream. How could he be so good at this? So convincing. Was everything a lie? Had he ever really loved me? Over the next 2 days, I played the perfect sick wife. I stayed in bed, let Graham bring me meals, took my medications in front of him. At night, when he was asleep next to me, I'd go into the bathroom and check the recordings on my phone. Thursday night, Felicity came over. I heard them downstairs, talking quietly. I checked the recording remotely, but they were in the kitchen, out of range of the laptop camera. Friday afternoon, I got what I needed. I was supposedly napping when Graham came home early from work. I heard him go straight to his office. A few minutes later, Felicity arrived. I heard her voice, heard them go upstairs together. I pulled up the live feed on my phone and watched. They were sitting at his desk, close together. Graham had a bottle of my heart medication in his hand. "This is the current prescription," he was saying. "The one she takes every night. 50 milligrams. Felicity leaned in to look. "And you're going to?" "Replace them." Graham opened his desk drawer and pulled out another bottle. "These are 200 milligrams. Same pill, same appearance, but 4 times the dose. I've been ordering them online for months, building up a supply. Tomorrow night at the lake house, I'll switch the bottles. She'll take what she thinks is her normal dose, but it'll be enough to cause a massive cardiac event. Combined with the wine we'll have with dinner and the altitude at the lake, her heart won't stand a chance." "What if she survives?" Felicity asked. "She won't," Graham said confidently. "I've done the research. At this dosage, with her condition, it's lethal. And even if by some miracle she makes it to a hospital, it'll be too late. The damage will be irreversible." "Show me," Felicity said. Graham held up both bottles. He explained the markings, the serial numbers, how he'd made sure everything looked legitimate. Felicity took out her phone and started taking pictures. "Why are you photographing them?" Graham asked. "Insurance?" Felicity said with a smile. "If anything goes wrong, we need to cover our tracks. Plus, I want to remember every detail of how brilliant you are." I recorded everything. Their faces, the pill bottles, every word they said. 20 minutes of clear, undeniable evidence. That night at dinner, Graham asked if I was feeling well enough to go to the lake house the next day. "I know you're still under the weather," he said, his face full of false concern. "But I've been looking forward to our anniversary trip. The fresh air might do you good." "I'm feeling a lot better," I lied. "I'd love to go." He smiled. "Perfect. We'll leave tomorrow morning." After dinner, after Graham went to bed, I sat in the bathroom with my phone and called Detective Rita Walsh at the local police department. Linda had helped me find her, a detective who specialized in domestic crimes. I told her everything. I sent her the recordings. I watched her face on the video call go from skeptical to horrified. "Mrs. Bennett," she said quietly, "you're in serious danger. We need to get you somewhere safe tonight." "No," I said. "If I disappear, he'll know something is wrong. He'll destroy the evidence, disappear with Felicity. They'll get away with it." "What do you want to do?" "I want to go to the lake house tomorrow like we planned," I said, "and I want you to be there when he tries to kill me." Detective Walsh was quiet for a long moment. "That's extremely risky." "I know, but it's the only way to catch them in the act, to make sure they can never hurt anyone else." We spent the next hour planning. Detective Walsh would have officers positioned near the lake house, watching and waiting. I'd be wearing a wire. The moment Graham switched the pills, the moment he tried to get me to take them, they'd move in. "We'll keep you safe," Detective Walsh promised. "I give you my word." Saturday morning came. I packed our bag while Graham loaded the car. The lake house was 2 hours north, a cabin we'd bought 5 years ago as an investment property. It was remote, surrounded by woods, beautiful and isolated. The perfect place for a murder. The drive was surreal. Graham chatted about work, about the merger, about the beautiful fall weather. I watched him drive, his hands steady on the wheel, and wondered how I'd never seen this side of him, how I'd never suspected. "Penny, for your thoughts?" he asked. "Just thinking about our 15 years together," I said honestly. "How much things have changed. The best is yet to come," he said, reaching over to squeeze my hand. The lake house looked exactly as I remembered. Beautiful golden light filtering through the trees, the lake sparkling beyond the deck. Graham parked the car and started unloading our bags. "Why don't you go relax on the deck?" he suggested. "I'll bring everything in and start dinner." I went out to the deck, sat in one of the Adirondack chairs, and looked out at the water. Somewhere in those trees, police officers were positioned with cameras and weapons, waiting. The wire under my shirt felt obvious, like everyone could see it. But Graham suspected nothing. An hour later, he called me inside. He'd made pasta, opened a bottle of red wine, lit candles. It looked romantic. It looked like a perfect anniversary dinner. "To 15 years, Graham said, raising his glass, "and to many more." We clinked glasses. I took a small sip of wine. After dinner, Graham cleaned up while I pretended to read on the couch. I watched him in the kitchen, saw him glance at me, checking, waiting. Around 9 p.m., he came and sat next to me. "You should take your evening medication," he said gently. "I know you haven't been feeling well." "You're right," I said. "Let me go get it." "I'll get it for you," Graham offered, standing quickly. "You relax." He went upstairs. I heard him moving around in the bathroom. A few minutes later, he came back down with a glass of water and my pill bottle. "Here you go," he said, shaking out a single pill into my palm. I looked at it. It looked exactly like my normal medication, but I knew it wasn't. "Thanks, honey," I said, and raised the pill to my mouth. "Wait," Graham said suddenly. I froze. "I want to get a picture," he said, pulling out his phone. "Our 15th anniversary. You taking your medication like always. It's sweet, kind of domestic." He was documenting the moment, creating a timeline for when I'd taken the fatal dose. "That's a weird thing to photograph," I said slowly. "Humor me," Graham said, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "I just want to remember this night." I put the pill in my mouth and took a sip of water, keeping the pill tucked in my cheek. I smiled for the camera. Graham took several photos. "Perfect," he said. "Now swallow." "I did," I lied. "Let me see," he said. I opened my mouth, showing him my empty tongue. The pill was still hidden in my cheek, pressed against my gums. "Good girl," he said, and kissed my forehead. I excused myself to use the bathroom, spat the pill into my hand, and flushed it down the toilet. When I came back out, Detective Walsh and 3 uniformed officers were coming through the front door, weapons drawn. "Graham Bennett, you're under arrest for attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder," Detective Walsh said. Graham's face went white, then red. "What? What is this?" "We have video evidence of you and Felicity Chen planning to murder your wife," Detective Walsh continued. "We have recordings of your conversations. We have the fake medication you attempted to administer tonight. And we have your own photographs as documentation." "This is insane," Graham sputtered. "She's my wife. I love her." "You tried to kill her for insurance money," one of the other officers said, snapping handcuffs on him. As they led Graham out to the patrol car, he looked at me. For just a second, his mask slipped. I saw rage there, and hatred, and something cold and calculating that made my blood run cold. "You'll regret this," he said quietly. "I'll fight this. I'll win, and you'll have nothing." "I'll have my life," I said. "That's more than you were planning to leave me." They arrested Felicity that same night at her apartment. She tried to play innocent, but they had her phone with all the pictures of the pill bottles, they had the recordings, they had everything. The trial took 8 months. Graham's attorney tried to claim it was all a misunderstanding, that the recordings were taken out of context, that I was a paranoid woman going through early menopause who'd imagined the whole thing. But the evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for 3 hours before finding both of them guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Graham got 20 years to life, Felicity got 15. They'll both be eligible for parole eventually, but given the premeditated nature of the crime, the judge made it clear that they'd serve most of their sentences. I divorced Graham while he was awaiting trial. I got the house, the lake cabin, my pension, and half of his retirement account. I also kept the life insurance policy. Ironically enough, he'd named me the beneficiary, and since the policy was purchased before the crime, I was entitled to keep it. I sold the lake house. I couldn't go back there, couldn't stand to look at the place where my husband had tried to murder me. I sold our home too, bought a smaller place closer to my school. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal, although that nearly broke me. It wasn't the fear, although I had nightmares for months afterward. The hardest part was accepting that the man I'd loved for 15 years had never really existed. Or maybe he had, once, but somewhere along the way he'd become someone else. Someone capable of looking me in the eye while planning my death. I'm 62 now. I retired from teaching last year. I spend my time with my grandchildren, with Linda, with the small circle of friends I've rebuilt my life around. I'm dating someone new, a kind man I met at a bookstore, but I'm taking it slow. Trust doesn't come easy anymore. People ask me how I stayed so calm, how I had the presence of mind to gather evidence instead of panicking. The truth is, I was terrified every second, but I was also angry, angrier than I'd ever been in my life. And that anger gave me clarity. I learned some important lessons through all of this. First, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Second, document everything. In this digital age, evidence is everywhere if you know where to look. Third, you're stronger than you think you are. When pushed to the edge, you'll find reserves of courage you never knew existed. And finally, never underestimate the stupidity of people who think they're smarter than everyone else. Graham and Felicity thought they'd planned the perfect crime, but they got cocky. They talked too freely, documented too much, assumed no one would ever suspect them. They were wrong. I still have the recordings saved in 3 different places. I probably don't need them anymore, but I keep them as a reminder that I survived, that I fought back, that I won. My anniversary is next month. 16 years since I married a man who tried to kill me. I won't be celebrating with dinner and wine. Instead, Linda and I are going on a cruise to Alaska. She says we need an adventure, something to remind me that life is still worth living. She's right. It is worth living. And I'm going to live every single day of it, on my own terms, with people I trust. Because I learned that lesson the hard way. Life is precious, and the people who claim to love you should treasure it as much as you do. If they don't, if they see you as nothing more than an obstacle or a paycheck, then they don't deserve a place in your life. And they certainly don't deserve to take it from you.